What's up, everybody? You tuned in to another edition of our No Time for Talk, Just Time for Action podcast. Today, I got a special guest in the building, special guest. This is going to be part 2 of my nonprofit talk. I'm really hoping that you guys enjoy this. We're going to be talking about different grants and proposals and things like that. So without further ado, I will let you introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Marcella Samuel. I am a grant consultant. Everybody, I guess, kind of confuses a consultant with a grant writer, but I do full-on program development, program auditing, grant management, as well as writing. So that's kind of what separates. I guess a little bit of my background. I've been doing this for about 12 years now.
Awesome.
I have developed 11 programs, and inside those programs, 111 like sub programs, if you will. So yeah, I love what I do.
Killing it. So I know, starting nonprofit, a lot of you may have questions of, when do I contact a grant writer? When do I get some consulting for grant writer? What does a proposal mean? Concept, what are, some of these things that I actually need as I'm starting my nonprofit and getting off the ground. So Marcella, just kind of explain a little bit as far as proposals, concept proposals, those definitions for us nonprofit people who are starting a nonprofit and don't know what that is.
Yeah, so a concept proposal is literally the formal term for a grant application, right? So when a funder invites you to apply, or you go to their website and you find a grant application, they'll literally refer to it as like a concept proposal. And that's more coming from the foundational funders. There are foundational grants, state grants, and government grants. State and government, sometimes they refer to them as a proposal. Other than that, they refer to them, excuse me so much, as a grant application. So yeah, it just depends on who you're working with. Again, that's foundational, state, and federal, which are your government proposals.
Awesome. So as a young nonprofit, you're starting your, you got everything together, you're wanting to get your, hit the ground running. What are some things that you would suggest that nonprofits start tracking from day one?
Oh, okay, yeah. So community contributions. I talk to my clients about this all the time. If somebody donates a pencil, put a price to that pencil. Nothing is free. Nothing is of zero value. If they donate a table, put a price to that table, right? So community contributions, of course, your budget, how much you are spending out of your own pocket, because we as nonprofit runners and executive directors all know that before we see anything from the community, right? Sometimes it comes out of our own pocket, unfortunately. But make sure that you're tracking your budget as it increases or decreases, because sometimes you may not need as much money as you're asking for, or you may need more. Of course, your population, the people that you serve, and your outcomes, which are your outputs or your results. Make sure that you're tracking those in the beginning.
Yeah, so because I know, even my nonprofit, that a lot of that stuff can get lost, in translation as you're maybe trying to build your website, as you're trying to go after funding, as you're trying to get volunteers, as you're trying to just work out what it is that you actually need to be doing for your nonprofit.
Sure.
A lot of that stuff can get lost in translation. I didn't know that I needed to track, anything that somebody gave me an in-kind donation. A budget was a real big thing for me. Tabulating that. You're going to spend a lot of time on that. So for you people out there starting, a nonprofit, think about that stuff. Have all that stuff. Start tracking it. If you haven't, start tracking it now. Anything else that you would say needs to track, or those pretty much the main things?
I think that those are the most critical. And I say that because, you can apply for a $5,000 grant, and that package, that proposal is going to look very different than a $5 million grant. But I will say the smaller the grant, those are the four critical things that they ask for, right? Like, okay, who's contributed? How many grants do you have? Or how much money do you have in the bank so far for your program? How much money have you raised, right? What is the budget for your program? I have not written a grant to date, big or small, that has not asked me for a budget for my client.
There you go.
Like,
So,
it's just as plain and simple as that, right? Your population and your population outcome. Those are the things that are going to determine your need. And that's kind of going to sell your program to the funders, if you will, right? Like, who are you helping? How are you helping them? And what have you done in the past to make sure that your goals of your program are met, right?
so
Your budget, I'm sorry, your budget also speaks to how responsible you are with money, right? So if a funder comes in and they want to give you $12,000 toward your program is like seed money, and we'll kind of talk about that later. Well, what have you done with the money that you have? I don't care that it's $400 or $500. Are you tracking it, and are you making sure that it's allocated appropriately?
So being responsible with money,
Yep.
tracking your budget,
Mm-hmm.
and tracking everything that you just said.
Yep.
Hey, set yourself up for success. Don't sit here 5 years later and all of a sudden like, oh yeah, I haven't been tracking,
Exactly.
and I haven't been doing a budget. Like, don't start your nonprofit out that way. Again, if you start a nonprofit, start tracking this stuff ASAP.
So I'll just recap that: community contributions, program budget, populations, and outcomes and results. Well, just those four.
So again, as you're making your plan, put that stuff in there. So you kind of hit on it. You said we're just gonna talk about it a little bit. So I got this, nonprofit that I'm wanting to start, and now I'm looking to get seed money. Now I know most of you out there are probably thinking, yeah, my nonprofit is this, that, and the third. Everybody's gonna want to give me money. Everybody's gonna want to give me a grant. This nonprofit is rock solid.
Yeah. I know, I thought that way, opening my first nonprofit, starting my first program, even like, yeah, you're going to be able to do this and it's going to rock. But so first of all, let's just kind of talk about what seed money is, because I know that for-profits and nonprofits kind of use the same term. And it's just money that is being used to start up a program. It's your startup funds for your program or your project. Right. And I would recommend to obtain seed funds just to go out into your community, go out into your local organizations and foundations, your corporations, your businesses, especially if it's going to be something that's if the organization or the corporation is going to benefit from the proposed program. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're trying to get homeless people off the street, and there are tons of homeless people that line up outside of Walmart or McDonald's or somewhere like that, right? And you are a nonprofit in their community helping homeless people. Do you not think that they want to help you? Absolutely, right? Because it's also going to benefit them in their establishment. So yeah, go out, and your seed money should be sought out from those corporations, those organizations and businesses.
Awesome. And I think that's also probably has a double benefit, as you're also getting to know those business owners and other people in your community for future relationships or future endeavors or whatever the case may be. So not only are you getting seed money from them, but now they can become partners of yours as you begin to work with them through the process to help your community.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, Marcus, because I like to call that, in the Army, we call that boots on ground. Well, I call it boots on ground because it's a term that I learned from the military. But boots on ground is so, so, so important. I can't tell you how many times a client of mine wants to apply for a grant from Walmart, or, there are gift cards that they give during a critical time. And Walmart doesn't know who they are because they've never done anything in their community. Right. Like you have to be active in your community. Don't just depend on your concept proposal, your foundational concept proposal to get you the money that you're looking for. I know one of the things that I can credit you for, Marcus, is before I even wrote a grant for you, you were sending out PPE during COVID, right? Things like that. If you are, homeless, do like a soup kitchen that doesn't cost very much. So that way they get to know you for your work and not just because you're coming in saying, hi, I'm the owner or I'm the executive director of said nonprofit organization, right?
And I think you don't want to give business owners the wrong impression of, hey, I'm running this nonprofit, give me money. Like,
yeah. Like I say, boots on ground, make sure that you're active in your community and you're serving your population and that those community businesses know that. Because other than that, you are, in fact, just saying, hey, I'm a nonprofit organization, give me money.
Right.
That's exactly what you're
saying.
Yeah. Yep.
Boots on ground, doing what you're saying.
Boots on ground. Yep.
So, all right, you got your nonprofit. You're tracking what you need to be tracking. You're talking to business owners and, boots on ground. You're helping people, building relationships with business owners, and maybe possibly you're getting some seed money from your community. This is a question that I always struggle with, and I think a lot of nonprofits may teeter with this because, one, you may not have the money, and two, let's be honest, grant writers, the time is expensive, so you may be paying. So when is it appropriate to either get consulting for grants or to get a grant writer involved with your nonprofit?
So I'm gonna start answering the question like it is never, ever, ever too early to consult with a grant consultant. As some people are just writers, some professionals are just writers, and some professionals identify themselves as full-on consultants. It's never too early because maybe you don't know, anything about a program budget, right? But I guess to answer that question entirely is when your board members have their mission statements, they have their needs, which is also your why, and they have their programs, goals and objectives. That is when you should be able to say, you know what, we've got all this down. We are all on one accord about what it is our program wants to do, who we want to serve, how we're going to serve them, what our mission statement is, and of course, our need or our why. Let's bring in somebody that kind of helps us fine tune this or make sure that we're building our concept proposals appropriately and professionally.
Awesome. So it's all about building a solid foundation. If you build your nonprofit, on toothpicks, it's going to fold. So, all this information that I'm giving you guys, I hope, because again, as I told you in the first video, Veterans 5 to 9, it was hard getting this organization off the ground just because misinformation from people want to hold you over a barrel for, different services. There's so much information out there. If you all just, look it up, you can look it up on YouTube, you can look it up on different sites. People are willing to help you. And people are willing to guide you in the correct direction. And I hope these videos, at least on the nonprofit side, help guide you, because I want people to start nonprofits. I want people to be able to do nonprofit work because nonprofits, again, I say this all the time, if nonprofits didn't exist, this world, we'd be in a world of hurt. Point blank, period. So, when we have people like Marcella come on here and give you guys and give all of us insight on what we need to be doing for our nonprofit and what we need to be looking at, the things that we need to be tracking. This is all for you to build a solid foundation. So when the storm comes, your house doesn't blow apart.
And if it does blow apart, and somebody puts it back together, make sure that you put a price, you put a number on that service, because that is something that they did contribute. So,
because I mean, honestly, I think most nonprofits are average 3 years before they fall off. Like a lot of nonprofits fall off, at that 3-year mark because they just didn't set up the foundation correctly. You know, whether you weren't tracking things, whether you didn't have a correct budget, whether you know, weren't marketing, whether maybe somebody gave you misinformation, and, you know, now what are you doing? You had this great idea and you thought people were going to flock to you and give you money, and that's just not the case. It's just not reality.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
thinking you're, you know, going to get paid and, you know, thousands of dollars to run your nonprofit, that's probably not the case either. People really want to just, you know, donate to your program. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the horror stories, you know what I mean, of like these missing ones, but it really is such a reward, right? And one of the things that I want to say about, you know, hiring a consultant and making sure that you lay the groundwork is that you should always make sure that you remember that you're doing it for your population. If you are not administratively capable, and I beat that into all of my clients, right? They're probably watching and laughing because I'm like, if you are not administratively capable, you are doing a disservice to your population, to yourself, to your staff, to your board members. And then who's going to really want to like fund someone that is like not capable of delivering what they say that they want to deliver, right? So just make sure that, you know, in crossing your T's, dotting your I's, you don't become so frustrated that you forget your why, because ultimately that's who it's about, right? Or what it's about, rather.
Awesome, awesome. So, I mean, there you all have it. Just some, again, some very basic tips, tricks, you know, good information for those out there who are just starting a nonprofit, who are trying to get their nonprofit off the ground. Again, good information here. Marcella, do you have any closing thoughts, any more tips or tricks you want to throw at us before we close it up here?
Not particularly. I wanted to go back and make sure that you remember, or that your audience knows, that when they are looking for grants, to remember to just mission match, right? Like, I can't tell you how many people I consult for, and they're like, oh, hey, I want to apply for this grant. And I'm like, well, this mission, this company and this funder has nothing to do with what your cause is. Like, you have to mission match. You have to say, you know, listen, I have this mission, and this mission aligns with this funder's objective to fund. If not, you're going to waste your time, and you're going to sit and write a grant for 2 days that is not going to be successful. So, you know, mission match, cross your T's, dot your I's, and make sure that you're always considering your why. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, good stuff as always. I want to thank all of my viewers for, you know, tuning in and checking this out. Like I said, this really comes from the heart for me, much like the veteran resources, because I see things out there that, you know, sometimes, you know, I can only control what I can control. And if these videos help one veteran, you know, get off the ground, then to me, it was worth it. Because I know I looked up a lot of information. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of generous YouTubers, or whatever the case may be, who provided information to help me get Veterans 5-9 off the ground. We'll probably have our next video on basic tips of marketing. Obviously, we just talked about grants, but that should not be your only vehicle of funding. You should have multiple vehicles to fund your organization. And we can go over probably in the next episode different ways to, or different vehicles to help you start to fund your organization. Because again, if you're just thinking that, hey, people are going to give me money because this is my great nonprofit, I'm telling you, think again.
Yeah. Can I add also that don't be afraid to, don't see your other or your neighboring 501c3s as competition, right? Use them. Some of you guys have, and some of my clients even have the same mission, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, so make sure that you reach out if you have a question. First of all, do not let anybody ever charge you for bylaws, because that's free.
Crazy.
Free. It's free, 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 free,
Right.
free, free. And I might have just put a whole lot of people out of business, but I don't care. Like, I will personally give you bylaws for free. Like, you don't even have to sit in a consultation with me because it is free information. So just make sure that you are picking the brains of more mature 501c3s and saying like, hey, where did you get this information from? Or how did you go about hiring your grant consultant or your grant writer? Because there's a lot of people out there, unfortunately, that'll say like, yeah, I'll sell you this information. And it's information that it's free. Like, it blows my mind. So make sure that that's something that you're considering as well. Keep your organization safe, keep your funding safe, and the money that you spend safe. Yeah.
I think it only benefits you to if you and another organization are, running, I guess, parallel lines and kind of doing the same thing. Why not work with them?
Yeah.
Again, that's just, at least in the veteran community, that's just you being able to fill another gap or fill a hole, a loophole, as I like to call them, in veteran services. So
yeah, and this is kind of mature for a brand new organization, but you also have to consider, like, if then the mission or the mission is the same, but the program is different, you guys can kind of cohabitate in that way and say like, hey, you know what, maybe on these days I can serve your population and you can serve my population too, with the program goals and objectives that you have, as well as whatever it is that your program offers. So never take that off the table as well. Like, while your missions may be the same, your programs may be different, and you guys can certainly, coexist in that way in your community.
Yeah, absolutely. Build strong communities, better resources, just for everybody, all around. Now, again, start a new nonprofit, you may not be in that mind frame, but again, hopefully watching this video, you'll start to get into that mind frame. Marcella, I definitely want to thank you so much for coming on this podcast, for teaching me and allowing me to get better at organizationally with my nonprofit. You fantastic job. And again, I thank you for coming on. I thank you for spending some time and getting information out there to our viewers.
Yep. Thank you for having me. It's always a joy, like, helping veterans 5 to 9. You guys rocking it, doing some amazing stuff in the community. So keep it up.
Awesome. Hey, if you guys enjoyed this video, definitely like, subscribe, share this video, head on over to veterans5to9.com, check out the merch, donations, check out what we do, check out all the community events. We are out there in the community. We're doing several community events every month. We are there. Come check us out. Say what's up to us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We got it all. So again, hope you guys all enjoyed this. Have a wonderful day, evening. God bless.